Guess who's back? Back again.
We're not trying to get copyrighted again, dang it.
Oh my god.
Again? As
Yeah,
if it's happened before.
it has. I checked today.
Well, that's a you problem.
It was the one we did like 2 weeks ago. I think it was probably for the music at the end, but oh well. It's not like we're actually making anything off these. Anyway,
Yep.
week 4 has come and gone. Week 5 is on the way. Go over a couple things from week 4 before we move into this week. Oh boy. Should we start with what happened in Atlanta?
Do we really have to talk about that? I'm already in pain as it is. We lost to the dang Dirty Birds. Y'all lucky y'all weren't watching me as I was watching that game because there was so much profanity. But
Yeah, the Falcons are starting to look like the dark horse we picked them to be at the start of the season.
and I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
And I will say the Saints, they still look okay, but they're having some issues now on offense. I think people are starting to learn what's going on with their offensive scheme. I don't know. I don't know the specifics of it, but it's after those 2 games, people seem to have figured them out. It helped when Taysom Hill was in for the first bit of that game before he got injured again. But they kind of struggled after that. Defense did okay. They got the plays when they needed to, but they also failed in some aspects.
Yeah, it is the biggest case of we didn't want it enough that I've seen in recent times, just because Shaheed botched that kickoff, and that's, it happens. Not very often. It
that
just
set
circumstantial.
the tone. That set the tone for the entire game right there.
And then, and then the pick six. And then for the second week in a row, we've been up with under 2 minutes to go, and we couldn't make a stop.
Yeah.
So it really, we gave that game away as much as we could possibly give it away.
And I don't want to put that pick 6 on Carr because there's nothing he can do about a pass being punched into the air like 30 feet, just hanging there for a while. But it sucks that it happened.
About that. And it's just like I said last week in our last podcast. We need another weapon out there. And ironically, Devontae Adams earlier today chose 2 teams that he wanted to be traded to. And of course, we'll find out how that happens either later this week or later this season. I don't know which comes first. But his 2 teams he nominated were the New York Jets, because they have Aaron Rodgers, and yours truly, the New Orleans Saints, because we have Derek Carr. Please come to New Orleans, because we are desperate for weapons. And it's just becoming so obvious. It's like, as soon as like I just said, as soon as Taysom Hill went out, the entire offense looked so out of sync. I'm starting to really think they're building this offense around him, which is not a bad thing. But at the same time, he's been injured now 2 weeks in a row. And when he's out of the game, the entire offense is screwed. It's like, we need another weapon out there, and we need it fast.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this season's going to derail really fast.
And I don't doubt that, division game, there's 2 of these a year. The next one's in New Orleans. I don't doubt that they can win that one. It's probably going to be a 1-1 split, honestly, because this was a very close game. Final few seconds from a insane field goal from Koo at the end. But that's how it is with these teams. The Falcons and Saints are always a fight.
And I said last week in our podcast, this was going to be a fight. It's a divisional game. These 2 teams hate each other, and literally the entire game. I don't know if I don't want y'all notice, but the game in terms of stats were so in sync.
Yep.
Like at the beginning of the third quarter, both teams had I think a 255 yards each in total offense. I have to double check my math there, but I know I saw that stat. I was like, dang. The overall series, as of now, was tied. Now they have a 1-game lead over us. It's like you expect that from a game from these 2 teams. So it's like it could go either way, and sadly, it went the Falcons' way. Yeah. And I absolutely hate that, but here we are.
Hey, there's another chance.
Well, that's what happens when you give them the ball within the 5, and then you give them the ball for a pick six and the defense scores. Like,
Yeah.
if we had
And,
not just,
part
if
of
we
it,
hadn't done that, we could have won.
Paulo, I want to chalk up to some of the injuries we had. We had a lot of people, even if they didn't go down for the entire game, we had a lot of people getting hurt. Olave went out for a few plays. Adebo went down. Taylor went down. Who else was it? Well, Hill, obviously, but we had a good bit of injuries that day.
I mean, we did, but that didn't necessarily directly contribute to Falcon touchdowns or anything.
Yeah.
Yes, but it doesn't help in the long run.
No, it doesn't.
But we'll talk about the next game for the Saints here in a minute because I fear for my life. Um, Congratulations to the Bengals on getting their first win.
Wahoo!
It may have been against the Panthers, but this is not the same Panthers that we played against in Week 1. This is the Andy Dalton Panthers, who actually look like a decent team.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm slowly starting to believe in them a little bit, but we'll cross that path later on this season, see how well they actually do. But I did say, I don't mean to brag about this, but I did say the Bengals would win by 10 points, and look at the score. They
You're
did
right.
indeed win.
You
They did
actually
indeed win by
called the
10 points.
differential this time.
It was bound to happen one of these
Is
years.
that the first one we've had?
I think so.
I've never kept track of us actually guessing the score and having that being correct. It may have happened before, but it's the first time that I can remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think,
Let's
yeah.
let's move on here to the next couple. There's only a couple more here we need to mention before moving on because we don't want this to go for 2 hours again.
Yeah, no,
Um,
definitely not.
Texans struggle against the Jaguars, but still pull out a win. What the heck happened to Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars? They are not the team that they used to be. The heck's going on in
It,
Jacksonville?
can we spell the word garbage?
It's like they never
Ugh.
recovered from last year. They started out hot last year, and people were saying that maybe they could even make the Super Bowl last year at the beginning of the season. And then Christian Kirk got injured, and then ultimately Lawrence got injured, and then they just haven't looked the same since.
Oh, and speaking of injuries, Paulo, I saw today that Aluakon is hurt too.
Yeah, he's on IR.
Yep, gone.
Ouch. Yeah, and Paulo, I was one of those people last season because I actually believed in the Jaguars more than I believed in anybody in that division of theirs, and they made me look absolutely stupid when they finished how they finished last season. Now I didn't pick them. I obviously didn't pick them this year to win the division, but they are looking a hell lot worse.
Yeah, I was thinking there would at least be somewhat competition for the Texans in that division, even if I thought that they were gonna still come in second place or whatever. But I mean, right now it's a competition for who's the worst team in the NFL, and it's two teams from that division, the Jaguars and
Yep,
the Titans, that are duking it out right now.
I
yep.
know it's crazy.
But let's go to the next one here. Broncos Jets. What the heck is going on with the Jets offense?
I don't know, but I have to laugh at the I have to laugh at the Jets here because I saw at halftime that the Jets were holding the Broncos passing offense total to -7 yards and they were still losing.
Yeah,
That tells
it
me
was.
that the Broncos defense might be legit.
The Broncos
No
did
doubt.
win, but yeah, it was a terrible game for both teams.
Yeah.
And
It
I
was
don't know if y'all saw the highlights, but there was a lot of drops. There was a lot of slips because it was raining in that game. And then I don't know how to explain the run game being so bad because usually rain means run more, but I don't know. Brees Hall had a
Brees
terrible
Hall,
game.
terrible game for Brees Hall, terrible game for Garrett Wilson as well.
and
Yep.
you want to know how
Just
bad of a game Brees Hall had, folks? He on my fantasy team in league number 4 of mine, he had -3 points.
yes, and in our fantasy league that we're in with a few of our friends, I have Brees Hall, And since points are kind of inflated a little bit in our league, he only got me 4. A running back averages 40.
Yeah, it's not good. It's just a bad day for Brees Hall. Really bad day.
It especially didn't help that my other running back, who I believe at the time was Carson Steele, got zip.
Mm.
Rip my
That
week.
is neither here nor there.
Silence. But I am willing to say at this point that with the Broncos, what they did with the Buccaneers the previous week was not a fluke. I think their defense is actually a legitimately good defense.
I agree with that because
Which is. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
What?
My bad.
I was just gonna say their defense does look legit because they held the Jets to 9 points and they held the Bucks to I forget how many points they held them, but they held them to a low score. And they just look good on defense. Offense had a good week last week. Then they took a reality check this week.
Yeah,
But then
they
again,
held the Bucks to 7.
yeah. Oh, 7. Oh, thank you. So yeah, the Broncos offense still has ways to go, but they did just enough, and I mean just barely enough to actually win this game. So
Yeah. The
not much else
defense
to
is
say.
it's looking like it did the year before the Russell Wilson trade, whenever that defense was like one of the best, if
Yeah.
not the best, and then it just like fell off. Like it's looking like it could be trending that way again, getting better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
making my prediction earlier this season look pretty good.
Uh,
What was your prediction again?
I said that the Broncos would be they would probably be the closest competitors to the Chiefs compared to the Chargers and
All
Raiders.
right, let's not get ahead of ourselves. So hold up,
I
wait a
think I have to
minute.
see one of the games first because based on how the Chargers did with the Chiefs this past week, it's possible. But I need to see it
Yeah,
play out.
of course, yeah. That's why it's looking that way. I
Yeah.
didn't say it is going that way, so we'll see how it looks later this season.
But we mentioned the Buccaneers. Let's really quick just mention the destruction of the Eagles that occurred in Tampa Bay this week.
Now, this game makes me mad for many reasons, but my
Mad or
main reason,
afraid? Because I'm kind of afraid of that.
more mad than afraid, honestly. The fact that my Saints, our Saints, couldn't get the job done against the the Eagles, excuse me. Yet the Buccaneers just manhandle them to submission. It's like, okay,
Baker
this really
Mayfield is
makes us
Jalen
look bad.
Hurts' father.
Yeah, you ain't
Yeah,
lying there.
just because the
But
Bucks are a better team than the Saints. That's why.
and I
Mm.
hate that so much, but you know what I mean. So
Good day for Baker. He had a great performance out there. But
Yeah.
on to the next one here, real quick, and this is like one of the last couple ones to mention. Washington and the Cardinals. Good lord, Washington. I expected to win, but I didn't expect it to be that bad. 42-14.
neither did I.
Washington's legit.
I
Yeah,
told y'all.
I didn't.
I told y'all at the beginning of this season.
You were wishful thinking, though. That's the
No,
difference.
I have faith in Jaden
Yes.
Daniels. That's what it was.
Yes, wishful faith.
All right, so last week I predicted a shootout with these two teams. Well, one decided to actually show off their offense. The other took a massive step backwards and didn't do good jack.
The question is,
Yeah.
did the Cardinals' offense go a step backwards, or did the Commanders' defense take a step up?
Both.
Mm.
I
I
think a
think
little bit
both
of both.
because they managed to keep the Bengals to some field goals last week as well. And that's a good offense with the Bengals, so
Yeah. And Kyler is
Yeah.
a mobile quarterback that they kind of corralled in this game.
yep. Golden
But
corralled.
but yeah,
Okay.
the more Jane Daniels looks good out there, the more I'm slowly starting to believe in him that he's actually maybe the answer that Washington has been looking for. And maybe my doubts about him and the Commanders in general starting to subside a little bit more the more he wins games like that. And
Now, here's
it,
my question for the two of you. Do y'all think what I was saying before the season started could actually happen? Do you think they might end up being second place in this division?
I think the way it's looking right now, they could potentially be number one in the division.
I agree with
But
Paulo.
it's too tough to say for sure, but they could be number one if we're talking about what could happen.
Okay, let's paint a picture here. Let's say the season ended here. My Dallas doesn't look that good. We obviously know the Giants don't look good at all, and the Eagles are hit or miss. The Washington is the only good team right now that looks good as of now, even though it's still too early to tell. But they actually look like they could run away with this division. It's like I don't now. It might be too early to tell. We're just now entering week 5. We'll see how they do against the other divisional opponents. But I don't know if I'm a Washington fan, I'm feeling really good about my chances here.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
again, we got to reserve
I
ourselves in case something bad happens.
the game I'm looking forward to most, I think, for the Commanders is their first game against the Cowboys. I
I
just
am
want to
too.
see how that plays out. And
Yeah.
speaking of this game from this past week, Jaden Daniels, 26 of 30, 233, a touchdown, and an interception. Not bad.
Yeah.
Not
Not bad at all.
amazing. He also had a rushing touchdown and was 8 for 47.
Yeah, but that's the thing with the touchdowns is when you look at the score, like the touchdown stats don't really matter because they're getting them on the ground either way. Like you don't need to be throwing those touchdowns if you don't have to. Let the
Yeah.
run game do it.
Which the run game as well. Brian Robinson, 21 for 101 and a touchdown. I can barely see that man's name. Is that Jeremy McNichols, I think? I need glasses. He's their I guess their third string because Eckler was out with a concussion. But 8 for 62 and 2 touchdowns.
Not bad. That's a pretty good day.
Yeah. I mean, looking at it right now, the Commanders are on top of that division. They're leading the division. Jaden has broken multiple records already in his rookie year. And it's just, I don't know. It's like, when you think about it, like you said, Chris, if the season ended right now, there's no team in the NFL that I'm saying definitely beats the Commanders. I think they've got a shot against any team.
Which is odd to say even for me.
Yeah, same here. Because
Yeah.
honestly, like me and Paulo kind of like rolled them out at the beginning of the season, and now they're just slowly but surely changing our minds.
I thought it was too soon and that it would take a year, but it's just like last year. Second pick overall comes out and starts balling and is going to take his team to the playoffs most likely, just like CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
Well,
So
let's.
they would be the team to watch out for the rest of this season.
They're going to be the one I'm being like paying the most attention to for the rest of this season, honestly.
Yeah.
But 2 more games real quick that we need to mention before I do say something that I need to say after last week. Bills, Ravens. Bills take their first loss. What the heck happened to the Bills offense? And my God, Derrick Henry looks like he's young again.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure all of us, including Will, who isn't here with us tonight because he's working tonight, I'm pretty sure we all chose the Bills, and the Bills got walloped.
Yep.
Very
It
first
was
play of the
ugly.
game was a massive run by Derrick Henry for a touchdown.
For real. And
Well, at least
my fantasy
first play
team thanks
for
him for that.
first play
First
for the
play
Ravens.
for Baltimore.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Ravens definitely were there to play that night. The Bills just forgot to show up. Point. That's simple as
Yeah,
that.
this is the Bills that I expected at the beginning of the year.
Same. Yeah. So
Yeah, it was as soon as I saw that first Derrick Henry run, I knew what was going to happen. The whole there were some Bills fans at the restaurant and dude, they got so mad so quick. And I don't blame them. The Ravens run game is looking like it was supposed to. Like, you add Derrick Henry, and I think a lot of people thought that the run game was going to be the best in the NFL. It looked like it that night.
Yep. And honestly, they didn't really use much of their receivers at all. I believe that Justice Hill was their best receiver that night.
Yeah, because all they had to do was run the ball. Like that's all they had to do. Because the Bills'
Yep.
defense couldn't stop them whatsoever. So
Yeah.
all they had to do is just chug that ball down the field so many times they weren't stopping them. And the Bills' offense just they couldn't do anything against that Ravens defense.
The one time I say I'm putting my faith in the Bills,
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean
they made us so stupid.
they looked great for the first 3 weeks, and then they Baltimore came alive.
yep.
James Cook did practically nothing against the Baltimore defense. They were not allowing the run, and then the pass. I mean, if you can't run, the pass is limited because they know that you're gonna have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, James Cook did absolutely nothing in my fantasy team. As y'all should know, I lost Apollo in fantasy this week.
Why is it that
Yes,
whenever
was
I
the great
think
success of my life.
why is it that whenever I think to trust anybody from the Bills, I get burned?
It's the way it goes.
Yep.
But honorable mention to the Titans beating the Dolphins 31-12. We told you, Chris.
We
Hey,
did tell you.
I mean, let's be honest here. Like, like when I said the Dolphins had better weapons, I stand by that.
Oh yeah,
It's
that's
just
obvious,
they
but
they just have no quarterback, and let me tell you, it seems like Tua was the glue that held them together, and they made them look
no,
good.
no,
Now,
Tua was not glue. Tua was some chewed up bubble gum that was holding them together. As soon as he went down after that hit,
yeah, everything exploded, and
Which is kind of surprising because Tyler Huntley did fine in Baltimore as a backup when Lamar went down every now and again with his injury history. Tyler Huntley went in there and won some games, and he did not look like he did in Baltimore that night.
yeah.
he looked terrible that night. And
And we have to
yeah,
mention the NFL meme king Will Levis, and I'm gonna put that image of him on the sidelines on screen when I'm editing this. Threw an interception and got hurt and left the game.
Yeah, it's funny that he only played for like 5 minutes, but he still managed to throw his one interception a game at least.
I just
at, le- at least the man stays consistent.
at
Yep.
what point do you look at him and say, okay, we need to move on?
It depends how the
knows?
rest of the year goes. If they finish this year with like 2 wins, then they've got a decision to make.
Brother, if he finishes the year with more interceptions than touchdowns, which at this point is very likely, wake up. But the final game from last week before I go on my little rant, the Seahawks and Lions, again, defenses for the most part didn't show up for this game. Another high scoring game between the two. Lions win 42-29. This is the Lions we expected to see. This is
Yes.
the Lions we remember from last year.
Yeah, like they actually looked like the Lions for once. It's like they got the high-powered offense looked really good. Defense did all right for the most part. It's like that's the Lions team I've been waiting for. Maybe y'all finally or maybe they decide to finally wake up. Who knows? But it's like, could you please replicate that the next week? They're not playing this week because they're on a bye week, but please, because I need fantasy points for next week.
Yeah, it feels like everyone like had almost fallen asleep on the Lions because the Vikings are 4-0, and then everyone's kind of high on the Packers as well. And then the Lions kind of fell by the wayside a little bit, and this was kind of like the wake-up call that they're still like the team to beat in the division.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still think it's going to be a very competitive division, though.
Oh, no
Yeah.
doubt. Honestly, at this rate, if the Lions continue to win and the Vikings continue to win, it's gonna be a battle between those two teams, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the final thing I want to mention before we go into this week, what the heck was that you and Will were saying last week, Paulo, about the Thursday night game? Oh, it's going to be a blowout. 5-point difference.
That's true, but you also said it was going to be a pretty good game, and it really wasn't.
It was kind of boring, I'm going to be honest, but I am glad that I was right about it being close. I don't think the Cowboys are as good as everyone thinks they are. I really don't.
Sticks and stones. Y'all also picked the no AJ Brown, no Devontae Smith Eagles to beat the Buccaneers. We can do this all day.
Yeah, but that one was mostly because of what happened with dang it, Denver the week before with the Buccaneers. But the I don't get what it is with the Giants and Cowboys. Like the Giants are starting to look a little better, and the Cowboys, like, there's some
They're regressing.
odd things going on with them.
Yeah, they're slowly but surely regressing, and it's darn because it's going to be concerning as a cow. If I was a Cowboys fan, it's I would be very concerned because when you when last year you beat the crap out of the Giants to barely beating them this year so far, yeah, you got some problems. So, and obviously we saw how they got dismantled by yours truly, the Saints, and the next week got dismantled by the Ravens. It's like this is not a good Cowboys team.
Yeah.
Not by a long shot.
Not a great one, at least. They're okay.
Yeah. And I got a feeling this is going to be a reoccurring theme for the Cowboys for the rest of the season. They might win, but it wouldn't surprise me if they lose certain games.
Yeah.
We'll see how.
So
that
here's
happens.
a question for y'all though. We as we know, Malik Neighbors went down with a concussion toward the end of that game and missed like the last 2 drives or something like that. Do you think if he stays in and doesn't get that concussion, it's different?
It could be, but
Possibly, yeah.
there's a
'Cause
lot
he
that
was-
goes into that. How much time was left in the game at that point?
I believe like 30 seconds or something like that.
30 seconds?
Yeah.
The whole game?
Yeah, there was
When he
like
got that
well,
concussion?
no, when they got on their like final drive that they got the chance to, score and win the game. I think that was around like the 2 to 3 minute mark, something like that. If I remember correctly.
I don't know. They could have,
Yeah.
but that just makes like in order for me to say that yeah they could have, I would have to believe that Daniel Jones could do it, and I don't think that I believe in Daniel Jones enough.
Yeah, I
even
can
for
agree
that.
with that.
Yeah, neither do I.
Well, that takes care of last week. Real quick, we need to mention our records for our picks. Me and Chris were 8-8. Paulo and Will were both 9-7. Moving on to week 5 here, we start with Thursday night, and this one is actually, I think, going to be a good game and not a boring one. The Buccaneers and Falcons, another divisional matchup, but 2 teams that are looking better and better each week.
Can both teams please lose?
No, Chris.
No, I think it's going to be a great game, honestly. The Bucks have been kind of on fire except for their one down week, and then the Falcons have been trending upward ever since they started.
Yeah. If I'm gonna give the edge to which team now, granted it's divisional, so it's gonna probably go either way. But I like the Buccaneers more in this matchup just because I think they have a little more firepower than the Falcons do. And I think the Buccaneers defense is a little bit better than the Falcons, but like I said last week, when the Saints went up against the Falcons, it's a divisional game. It's gonna go either way. The same thing applies to this matchup, so it's probably going to go either way. But I'm sticking with the Buccaneers. I think they win by 3.
I'm looking at it from the perspective of like matchups based on like each position. Running backs, okay, that goes to the Falcons. Bijan is definitely better than White and Irving.
Easily.
Wide receivers, I think that has to go to the Buccaneers. Godwin, Evans. Quarterback, it's this year, it's a toss-up, honestly. I think Baker is probably slightly better, but it's close, I think. And then defense, they're similar, but like you said, I think the Buccaneers is a little bit better than the Falcons, so I'm taking Buccaneers by 7.
I'm taking the Buccaneers as well. I agree with some of those matchups, but for me, I think Baker has clearly been better than Kirk this year. Kirk, I mean, started the year week one, not great. Most of week two, not great until that final drive. He did beat the Saints last week, but we gave that game away.
Yeah.
We gave him a short field at first, and then that pick six put those points on the board as well. I think that Baker, except for that one down game, has been playing really well. Um, they did beat the Eagles, but he's not playing the Eagles offense. They put those 40 something points on the Eagles defense, so I think that's something to think about. I don't think
Yeah.
that Atlanta's defense is going to be that much better, if at all. Um, I don't know. I believe in the Bucks right now. I think the Bucks are a great team,
Yeah.
and the Falcons kind of are, but I need to see more.
The
So I'll
Falcons
take
are
the
on their
Bucks.
way.
Yeah, they've got potential.
And Will has also sent us in his pick since he could not be here tonight. He has also chosen the Buccaneers. Next up, early Sunday morning from London at 8:30 Central. Good Lord. Jets and Vikings, and I think this one should be obvious. I don't see the
Vikings
Jets
all
winning.
day. Yeah, not by a long shot. The Vikings just have too much firepower going on for them. Sam Darnold looks elite, and I believe that sentence came out of my mouth, but here we are.
Justin
Oh,
Jefferson, they just got Addison back.
hmm
Yeah.
and the Vikings defense is actually pretty solid. They really took a step up compared to last season. They've really made adjustments,
Which is odd
and
considering we thought they were cursed before this season started.
agreed. Yeah, and this right now, there's just really nothing to say positively about the Jets because I thought maybe the Jets would look better on offense now with Aaron Rodgers back in the picture, but they just don't got it. They just don't. Like Aaron Rodgers looks like he's scared to throw the football sometimes, and he's not connecting well with his receivers. It's like he's just out of sync with them. So
Yeah.
it's like they just don't look good, and that's why they're just not good enough to beat the Vikings, even with the Jets' pretty solid defense.
If
So
I'm
I
being
got
honest here, I think this is Vikings by most likely 14 plus.
yeah, I could see that happening. I could see that happening. In fact, I might even say the same thing. I think the Vikings win by 14 plus.
Okay, two things. Number one, I'm taking the Vikings as well. But number two, you are being so dramatic about the Jets. They had one bad game. Through the first 3 weeks, they were looking better and better each week. Aaron Rodgers looked good. The receivers looked good. The run
Well,
game looked good. The defense looked good.
it's
It's
not so
one
much
game.
the offense. The defense has been very hit and miss from what I've seen.
But again, it's this past game. The week before, they destroyed the Patriots on defense.
Yeah, the
I
Patriots, whose
think
offense
that's
is not great.
but
Yeah,
it almost beat the Seahawks.
yeah, but
I think you're
That may
being
be, but
dramatic.
I think it's clear though that something with the Jets is not clicking. And until they can like figure out what that is and correct it, I can't put faith in them.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think there's any shot they're winning this game. I still agree. Like the Vikings could easily win this game by 14 plus.
Yeah, and also Will agrees
But
as well. He picked Vikings.
yeah, yeah. But I don't think that's I still think that the Jets are gonna be fine. Like maybe not this week, but they'll be fine.
Yeah.
guess we shall see.
Next up, we have Panthers at the Bears. This was originally going to be the two number one picks going up against each other, but as we know, Bryce Young has been pulled.
Yeah,
Yep.
This is a tough one to me.
I guess we know who won that trade. It's the quarterback, the team that has the quarterback that isn't benched.
that is true.
Yep.
For this matchup, the way the Panthers have been playing lately under Andy Dalton is just it's very promising. And they look better on offense. Their defense is still kind of hit or miss. But the thing that I feel like they might actually struggle this week because the Bears defense is nothing to mess around with. Like,
Yeah, I agree.
because they have manhandled opposing offenses so far every week this season, and the fact that they're only 2-2, and the reason why they're 2-2 is because they don't really have much of an offense to begin with. But
Which did
I
start to find its footing this past week.
yes, so I as much as I'm leaning towards the Panthers, I'm taking the Bears in this one, mainly because I think the Bears are gonna eat that Panthers offense alive.
Y'all ready for this? I'm taking
Oh
the
no.
Oh
Panthers.
Oh
boy.
my god.
I'm taking the Panthers because see, y'all's reaction right there told me that I'm doing the right thing. Because y'all had that same reaction when I almost took the Panthers against the Raiders. And
Well,
look what
hey,
happened.
you want to know something?
What?
Will also took the Panthers.
I know
Oh
Will's
my
elite.
god.
Me and him are look. We're twin flames this year apparently, because we agree on everything.
Not everything apparently, but
And another thing. Andy Dalton revenge game. Y'all must be forgetting he was playing for the Bears when they
Oh yeah,
drafted
that's
Justin
right.
Fields. He
oh
started
yeah.
that year.
That's right.
Andy
I
I
forgot
Dalton
totally
about
forgot
that.
about
revenge
that.
game.
Well, still though, we haven't seen this Panthers team go up against a good defense like the Bears. I think
That is true.
I think it is going to be a close game.
I
The
think so
thing
too,
I'm
yeah.
looking at as well though is that the Bears offense it is getting better, but it's still not very good. Caleb Williams has made mistakes. DeAndre Swift hasn't been super effective.
Except for this
And
past week, but that
it
could be a fluke.
yeah. Yeah, it could be. But then also ever since Dalton took over, the Panthers defense has looked better as well. And it could be I honestly it could be a very close game, but I just think that Dalton is the difference for me. Dalton versus Caleb Williams. Like they definitely have more weapons on both sides of the ball in Chicago. It's just can the QB play live up to the potential?
Yeah. I think I'm
Yeah.
still gonna go Bears by 3 for it.
I agree with Paul.
Mm.
Oh wow. So
Clear your
You
mind.
almost did
no,
it.
no, no,
Do
no.
not give in.
No, I am agreeing with Jose. Bears by 3.
First one that we're split on for the week. Next up, Ravens Bengals. Oh, I don't know about this one. I I think
Ugh.
my first instinct is to say Ravens, but could this one be a shootout?
It
It
could very
could.
possibly be, but it depends on if the Bengals can actually get things going against that Ravens defense. Because we all said that the Bills last week would probably score a good bit against that Ravens defense, but that did not happen. So,
Well, the
but
difference
then again,
I think is with the Bengals offense, they have better weapons than I think at least for receivers and tight end than Buffalo does.
that is true.
Buffalo
I would
has
say
some decent
receivers. I
ones.
wouldn't even say tight end.
Yeah,
Like as
I
much
can
as I
agree
like
there.
Gesicki, you've got Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, which are a great
Yeah.
1-2.
But the receivers are definitely better with the Bengals. They are not the same as with the Bills. Running back is a question mark, I guess. It's kind of a toss up between the two. As of
I
late,
wouldn't even bother with that because look what James Cook didn't do against the Ravens defense.
yeah,
Like
Yeah.
I'm not thinking that Zach Moss or anybody's gonna do any better.
yeah. Which honestly, it
Yeah, I
might be
agree.
better in this situation for them to be used more as like a pass catching back than an actual running back. It'd probably
Yeah.
benefit them more in this. But I think I have to go with the Ravens in this one.
Yeah.
I can't go with the Bengals after I saw what the Ravens have done with that defense, their run game, and the Bengals defense hasn't been the best. Uh, and as I said last week, if I picked the Panthers to win that game, I said if the Bengals win, I'm picking against them all season. I'm picking against them.
Is this
I
game in
mean,
Cincinnati or Baltimore?
Cincy.
Cincinnati.
Ooh, that changes things a little bit. just a little.
Mm.
Baltimore, I feel like, is a tough place to play.
Oh, it's always a tough place to play. Like even when the Saints go over there, okay, whenever they play against the Ravens, it's always tough. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm still gonna go with the Ravens in this matchup, but I'm keeping it close. I say the Ravens win by 7, because it's a divisional opponent and they're playing in Cincinnati, which makes it a lot tougher for the Ravens. Now, I wouldn't be upset if the Cincinnati Bengals won this matchup because I don't like the Ravens all that much, and I prefer the Bengals over the Ravens. But in terms of how each team is built, the Ravens are better stacked than the Bengals.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong.
So,
I would love to be proven wrong and see Joey B and Jamar win that game, but my gut tells me the Ravens. And
yeah.
Yeah.
apparently, Wills says the same thing.
I will be the odd man out.
Oh
And
no.
everything, look, I agree. Like, I think the Ravens should win this game, but being in Cincy makes it not 100% for me. If it was Baltimore, I'd say the Ravens. But also, the thing with the Ravens, though, is that while they did look unstoppable last week, what kind of Ravens are we going to get? Are we going to get the Bills Ravens, or are we going to get the Raiders Ravens?
Yeah.
And even when they beat the Cowboys, they still let the Cowboys come back and put like 20 something points on them, like uncontested. So I don't know. The Bengals have been trending the right direction. They look like they're pretty much back. Everyone's healthy right now, it seems. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Ravens won this, but I'm gonna roll with the Bengals this time.
Yeah. All right. Well, the next one we have up. This one's going to be interesting. The Bills at the Texans.
I
This
think
is
this would be a good matchup.
I think this is going to be close.
I think so too, because the Texans have yet to kind of like really show their dominance after 4 weeks of the season, and they're going up against probably I think their first good team of the season. They're lucky that they're at home um because I think the Bills' offense might be a bit much for the Texans' defense to handle, but we'll see. Um, but if the Texans can somehow get going on offense early, because I find that their offense has been kind of lackluster so far this season. But if they can get it start early and often in this game, then they should win this game. But I don't know what your thoughts are, but I might be odd man out here. I'm taking the Bills in this one.
You are not the odd man out because I'm taking the Bills as well.
Okay, all right.
I think the Texans are a great team as well, but I think that the Bills are going to be out looking for a win after what they just had done to them in Baltimore. I
Yeah,
think that the Texans have been struggling, like they've been winning, but they've been struggling every week. They've got O-line problems right now with some injuries. I don't know if Tank Dell's going to be back, but if he is, he's going to be coming off an injury. Same with Mixon. Is he back? If he is, he's coming off an injury.
Mixon did not practice today.
Okay, well, not a great sign. I think
yeah,
that
no,
the Bills are a healthier team right now, I think. It's what they had one bad game, but so did the Texans against the Vikings. But I think that the Bills are going to be a little extra motivated to get a win this week. It could be Stephon Diggs' revenge game, but it could be Josh Allen revenge game.
yeah, whichever comes first.
Well,
But
another
I'll
thing to
take the
add.
Bills though.
Another thing to
what?
add is that Tank is also questionable. He is limited today at practice.
Well,
Yeah, that's not a good sign for the
But even
Texans.
without Tank, they still have Nico and Diggs.
they do, but that
Yeah,
didn't save them against a good team like the Vikings, the only other good team they've played this year.
Yeah,
that's
and
true.
Mixon not being in there is going to be a hindrance, I think, more than anything. As much as I want to take the Texans, as much as I want them to win this game, I think I got to agree with y'all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this.
It's
Oh,
just it's that like the Bills, they had a terrible game last week, but they looked dominant in some of their other ones. The Texans won But have they really looked dominant in any of their games? I don't think so.
Will
I mean,
says, and I quote, Texans over Bills, we own the AFC South.
oh my God. Well, he's a
What does that
Texans
what does that
fan.
have to do with anything? Owning the AFC South.
Well, it's a nice segue into the next one, because it's an AFC South matchup.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's not a division. Bro, what does that mean?
Next one is Colts Jaguars, and I think the Colts win this. I believe Richardson is still supposed to play, but I think this is going to be Jacksonville's best offensive performance of the year.
Yeah, possibly.
At least so
It's
far.
tough to say. It's tough to say because I don't know that the Colts would have even won last week if Richardson didn't get hurt. And Jacksonville did play their best game of the year so far last week against the Texans. I don't know. This one feels kind of tough.
Yeah. Because the Jaguars they just look super unimpressive right now. Nothing's going right for them. Their offense can't do anything. Their defense can't stop anybody.
There is one person on their offense who can do something. His name is Brian
Who's that?
Thomas Jr.
Oh, that is true. The one shining star of that really dismizzle. Well, that didn't make it. That's not the right word.
What
am I
are you
talking
saying?
about?
Abysmal? Is that what you
Abysmal.
were
Thank
trying to
you.
say?
That came out so wrong. Yeah. I meant. Oh wow. I'm sorry, y'all. Abysmal of an offense. He's the shining star in an abysmal offense. There we go. So I'm taking Colts in this matchup.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be a close game.
And even if Richardson doesn't play, you still got Flacco out there.
No, but that's
Yeah.
the thing, though, is that I would say 100% the Colts win if he didn't play. It's Richardson that's making me nervous. Because he's the one who's going to be throwing the picks.
Let me
not
actually
Flacco.
go check real quick and see if there has been any updates while y'all discuss
He's not supposed to miss time, I don't think.
Let's
Joe
see.
Flacco played that entire game last week, right? Or did he only play
He
part of it?
played like 3/4 of it.
Okay, so that's yeah. Okay.
But that's the thing, is if Joe Flacco was starting, which I'm 99% sure he isn't, but if he was, I would say it's Colts easily. But Richardson is the one who's going to be throwing them picks. He's the one who's going to be fumbling, not Flacco. So that's what
Yep.
makes it close.
Yeah, as of right
Yeah,
now, he is questionable. He was limited today at practice.
Well, they should start Flacco because Flacco looks like he's still got it. I mean, we all saw that from last season when he was with the Browns, and he looked pretty good with the Colts this past weekend, filling in for Richardson. I mean, if you want to win, you start Flacco. That's just my honest opinion about them.
just look at the receivers versus when they're with the backup quarterback as opposed to their like starting quarterback. When Deshaun went down and Flacco went in, Amari Cooper was a top receiver in the league. Look at
Yeah.
all of the nothingness that Pittman usually does because he doesn't have QB play that lets him do good things. And then Flacco goes in and Pittman has a great game. Like I think that's the tell right there. Like get your receivers involved. You've got all world receivers on these
Honestly,
teams.
not even Pittman had the best game on that team last week. It was Downs.
That is true.
Yeah, I mean, look at. I mean, it's not just them too. Yeah, it's any receiver. Like they just do better with Flacco around than a lot of these guys.
Yep. But
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
Will
if
here
you
has
want-
said, Colts over Jags. F them both. I hope they both lose.
Oh my God, that's me with the Bucks and Falcons. Respect, Will.
Oh God.
Is this in Indianapolis or Jacksonville?
Jacksonville.
Oh no, you're gonna pick Jacksonville, aren't you?
I might.
Oh
They
my God.
they were very close to winning that game against the Texans.
I-
They were pretty
I know.
close.
But is that because the Texans may have underestimated them? Like Will said, walked in there not thinking they were going to have to do much? Or is it because the Texans are actually struggling?
Well, I think the Texans have been struggling, but Jacksonville also was able to put up more points than they normally do and things like that, which is promising going forward. Um, I'm gonna take Jacksonville. I think they're getting their first win.
Wow.
Paulo's being the odd man out a
That's
lot this
crazy.
week.
I
Yeah,
know.
I
He's
just
really
look.
banking on that.
I think that Richardson is probably gonna play, and he's not been doing well this year. He's been throwing picks, losing fumbles, but then also you've got on top of that, he's coming off of an injury, and so he might not run as much, which will limit his ability to be a QB in this game. And I think that I don't know. Um, Thomas Jr. has been doing well. Christian Kirk over the last 2 weeks has finally been doing well. Um, and I know Jacksonville has a couple of problems still, but I don't know. They seem to be slower than most, but trending upwards slightly as of last week.
Yeah, I can agree there, but I think I have more faith in the Colts.
I do too. Yeah, I'm just not there with the Jacksonville Jaguars right this minute.
Moving on, another divisional matchup. This time, what is it? AFC North. Dolphins, Patriots, and honestly, I think it's Patriots. I don't think there's a question.
So Dolphins, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Screw y'all. Patriots all day. In fact, I hope the Patriots put a 50 burger on you guys, just out of my pettiness.
Impossible.
Will also agrees Patriots over Dolphins.
Good.
I think that if Huntley can play the way he did in Baltimore, it would be a close game. Brissett versus Huntley, but I think the Patriots just have more going for them right now. The Dolphins have not looked good at
To be
all.
honest, this game is a battle of mid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be the Patriots.
Yeah, I think the Patriots just a better team in this matchup. I'll be surprised if they end up losing the Dolphins, but I just don't see that happening because the Dolphins look like crap these last couple weeks without Tua. It's just
like
they're
we
falling
said,
apart.
he was the thin piece that was holding them together.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
we're all taking Patriots in that. Let's move on to the next one. Browns at the Commanders. Is there any doubt?
Commanders all day, all freaking day. The Browns just don't stand a chance.
This game is going to be what I gauge the Commanders on, like compared to the other people in their division, other teams in their division, because we've seen how the Cowboys have done against the Browns. I want to see how they compare after this week.
Yeah, like is with the Browns, it's just really nothing to talk about. Good, like there's nothing good to talk about those guys. Like they have really taken a massive step backwards. And quite honestly, if I'm the Browns, I really should start looking at the quarterback position in particular because Deshaun Watson.
Jameis.
I don't
I'll
think
let y'all.
I don't know if it's. I don't think they're gonna bench Deshaun without him getting hurt. But I agree, they should be looking toward the draft, honestly, for the future.
Yeah, because Deshaun Watson he's just terrible. Like they have no offense.
And it's not because of the stuff around him. He has weapons. He's got Amari Cooper. What is it? Jerry Jeudy. Right now he has Jerome Ford, but Nick Chubb is actually back at practice now.
And they're still not winning games.
And Njoku's coming back in like the next week or two. You're gonna have people, and if you continue to play like that, you need to go.
Mm-hmm. It's like we said earlier. It's like when Joe Flacco was there, he made all those weapons elite, and there's a reason why they made the playoffs. Deshaun Watson is just not that guy anymore.
Yeah,
And
Joe Flacco and Njoku saved my fantasy season last year.
Yeah, you ain't lying there. But like Commanders all day. Jaden Daniels is gonna run them over. I think, like whether it's passing, whether it's running, it could be both. I believe in Jaden Daniels more than I believe in Deshaun Watson. Give me the Commanders by 10 in this matchup.
Yeah, after the last 2 weeks, you can't not take the Commanders. I think that they have been an elite team for 2 weeks now. There's nothing to really say that they won't do but a third week in a row. My only concern is y'all better protect Jaden because we saw in the first couple weeks of the season he was running for his life and he was getting sacked. And the Browns, if the Browns are doing anything, it's they've got Miles Garrett and they've got a pass rush. So y'all better make sure y'all don't let him get hit a bunch.
Yeah, the main question there is he going to be able to get out of those situations if like his offensive line can't protect him? Can he, with his mobility, break out of there and try to make a play off of it? And I think he can.
I
I
yeah, I
hope
don't think
so.
so.
Will
We
agrees
shall
though.
see.
He picks the Commanders over the Browns.
Very good.
Next up, Raiders Broncos. This is going to be a tough one for the Raiders if the Broncos defense is to be believed. The Raiders offense hasn't been great either, especially losing Adams. I think I gotta go Broncos.
I'm taking Broncos too because the Raiders just they don't tell me anything that's good about them, and they just
Nothing there
haven't
right
been
now impresses me.
exactly nothing. There's nothing there that impresses me either. So right now, the Broncos defense is just manhandling teams left and right. Their offense is still a work in progress, but they managed to get the job done. Who knows? They might have a better week this week because that Raiders defense is really nothing much to talk about. So other than what's that dude's name on the D line?
Crosby,
Crosby.
who I
Crosby.
don't even
Thank
know
you.
if he's playing this week because he was hurt this past
Yeah.
week.
Oh well, there you go. So I'm taking Broncos by 7 in this matchup. I just like the Broncos more than the Raiders.
Yeah.
See, this one's tough for me because
If it helps, Paulo,
the
it's in Denver.
Broncos. That does help actually, because Denver is a hard place to play with the altitude.
Yeah, there's a reason why it's called Mile High Stadium.
It's just like I've still got the bad Raiders, or not the bad Broncos stuck in my head, where I do not believe in them. I'm waiting for them to crash again almost. And the Raiders aren't good either, but they've won some games. I will agree. I'll take the Broncos just because it's in Denver.
All right.
Right.
And let's check and see what Will thinks. Where is it? Jaguars. Broncos over Raiders. We are all in agreement.
All right.
Alrighty.
All right,
Oh,
next up, Cardinals at the Niners. There's a cat on your screen, Chris.
yeah, you know, we got to get the cat in here sometimes, you know? This is our guest star for the evening.
I'm
Uh,
taking the Niners. I'll just say
I
it. I'll
I
just say
want
it.
to, but I don't know if I can.
Why?
I mean, the Rams dismantled excuse me, the Cardinals dismantled the Rams not long ago.
And didn't the Rams already play the Niners and win?
Yep.
They did. They did. But
And
the
But that
Niners didn't have Debo for that game, and Debo's back.
that is true.
look,
But my question with this is, which Cardinals are we gonna get? The ones from last week, or the ones who lit up the Rams?
like the thing with the Cardinals is their divisional opponent to the Niners, and my friend Beto, who has been on our podcast a few times, diehard Niners fan, go check out his podcast at Niners Sickness. But he has always complained about the Cardinals because they always give them fits, and I could see that happen again this week. But of course, like Jose said, which version of the Cardinals are we going to get? Last week's Cardinals or the week before that? We don't know. It's going to be a hit and miss with this game. But I am taking Niners in this matchup, but I'm not 100% sold on them. I'm taking them only by 3.
I'm taking them all day long. I haven't seen. It feels like we have this every week where Jose. I don't know why you think that the Cardinals are gonna like almost win or win every week or whatever, but like they've won what, one game this year?
Yes, but been close in a lot of the other ones.
Last week you said it could be a close game against the Commanders
Yeah, and
or it could
then
be a shootout.
Jaden
It
walked
was
in and
not.
just
It
manhandled
was
them.
not. You thought they were going to beat the Lions. They did not. Look, I mean, the one game where Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. popped off for 3 touchdowns, that was in the first quarter, and then they did nothing else. I just the Cardinals have not looked good for an entire game, any of these games. And I don't see that changing against the Niners. The Niners, I mean, they got Debo back, which they desperately needed. And then Jordan Mason has filled in pretty well with McCaffrey out. He's been getting 100-yard games, multiple touchdowns sometimes.
Yeah, which apparently McCaffrey seems to be getting worse instead of better. So
Yeah,
don't
Yeah,
which
expect
isn't
him
great,
back.
yeah, I'm
but I
worried he
just
might be out for the season.
after what I saw with Debo back for his first game last week, the Niners look like the Niners again. And I don't see it with the Cardinals. The Cardinals have played some pretty good teams this year, but I mean, to only pull out one win out of those games is not something that gives you hope, really.
Yeah. I see their potential is more of what it is. But like you said, I think I have to pick the Niners, but I'm picking them only by 7. And I'm pretty sure Will is going to do the same if I can find his. Let's see. Yep, Niners.
I know my twin flame picked the Niners. I can sense it.
God, get a room.
Wait, what you trying to say? You're a Jedi Knight or something?
Yes. No,
Oh,
we're twins, so we've got that twin connection, you know.
oh Lord.
Like the different. It's like those twins you see in movies where one is like super tall and the other one is short. That's
Yeah,
the
Yeah.
like Danny
difference.
DeVito and whoever his twin was in that movie, I forget.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think.
I what movie is that? Anyway,
I don't even
we're
know
getting
what
off
movie you're
topic.
talking about, to be honest.
Way off topic.
All right,
I
Packers
know what
Rams.
I know
I'm
what he's
taking
talking about.
Packers.
Yeah, yeah. Packers and Rams. Yeah, Packers definitely. They finally got Jordan Love back, and let me tell you that he was greatly missed,
It
especially
took
for
a
me.
while for him to
Uh,
get going, but when they finally did, they actually gave the yeah, I'm drawing a blank on the name, the Vikings. Jeez.
Vikings?
They finally
yeah,
like figured out what they needed to do and actually gave him a fight.
Yeah. I think
yeah,
it's Packers all day. You're looking at a Rams team that just lost to the Bears
Yep.
versus a Packers team that almost came back and beat the Vikings, which the Vikings could be the best team in football right now. So if that's any indication, the Packers are looking good.
Yeah. And I believe Will has also taken the Packers.
yep.
Next up, Giants Seahawks. Uh, as much as I think the Giants did um, well against the Cowboys, I don't think it's the same with the Seahawks, especially with them having Kenneth Walker back.
Yeah, when Kenneth Walker looked so much, he was greatly missed in that Seahawks running game, and he had, I believe, 2 touchdowns scored and 80 something yards. I believe, I don't know.
Something like that, I
Uh,
believe.
Something like that, yeah. But he was sorely missed in with that Seahawks running game, and I think with him back against the Giants, he's going to really help their chances to win. And I like the Seahawks better this matchup anyway because I'm still not sold on the Giants. Giants are
Speaking
slowly
of
looking.
speaking of Chris, do we have any updates that you know of about Neighbors? I know he's on your fantasy team, so you'd probably be the one to know about that stuff.
Yes. So as of now, he's still in concussion protocol. We they are hoping to get a better update by tomorrow, and if he's still not on concussion protocol by tomorrow, they're probably gonna rule him out for this week.
Yeah, honestly, at this point, if Neighbors doesn't play, Neighbors being there helps them significantly, but
Yeah.
it's enough to give the Seahawks a bit of a fight. But without Neighbors, the Seahawks are blowing them out.
Oh,
Yeah.
easily. Yeah.
I'm I'm taking the Seahawks. I don't think the Giants really stand a chance. They have been looking better. And they're not the worst team in the NFL like they kind of were at the beginning of the year, except for the Panthers. I highly doubt Neighbors is going to play after getting a concussion. Um, Not only because, the whole protocol and the rules of it all, but also like you don't want to risk it if you're the
Yeah,
Giants.
no.
Like he's the future of the
Yep.
franchise.
Yep.
And the Seahawks did lose pretty significantly to the Lions, but the Lions, I mean, they came alive. Geno Smith still had a career best game against the Lions this past week, and the Giants defense and the Giants team is not going to put up nearly the same fight that the Lions did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
I agree.
they're better on running backs, they're better on quarterback, they're better on receivers, pretty much everything. Maybe the defense, I don't know about that.
I'd
But
say they
offensively,
probably have a better over defense. I think the only thing the Giants might have over them is pass rush, but like
maybe.
overall defense, I'd still give it to the Seahawks.
Yeah, but offense in general is just better in Seattle. It is in Seattle as well.
Yep.
No, yeah, that'll do it then.
Yep. And finally, for Sunday night football, before we move on to the one Monday night game this week, because it's finally not going to be two, Cowboys at the Steelers. And Will has chosen the Cowboys here. I don't know.
Really? I don't. Nah, like I said earlier, the Cowboys just don't look that good this year. Yeah, they have a better offense than the Steelers. Don't get me wrong, but that Steelers defense is
Granted,
nasty.
they were struggling against Indy, and it did lose them
Granted,
that game, but that was the best their offense had looked in a long time.
yeah. But yeah, so it's like like not like every good defense is gonna have their bad days. I'm sure that was their bad day that week, but the Cowboys have been struggling against pretty good defenses as of late, even with teams like the Giants. It's like I just don't see them winning this game. I'm taking the Steelers in an upset by 3.
I'm sticking with the Cowboys. I think that the Steelers didn't really show me enough this past week against the Colts, and the Cowboys also did look vulnerable. But I think that even in some of their losses, like against the Ravens, they put up 20 something. Like I don't. The Steelers are just they are the defense. Their offense, I'm not counting on winning them that game. And the Steelers' defense didn't look impenetrable like it did before against a team that honestly they should have beaten last week. So I don't know. I gotta. Where is this game? Is this in
Pittsburgh.
Dallas or
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh? Here's the thing. I I trust Dak Prescott more than Justin Fields. And it's kind of weird to say because I don't trust Dak Prescott, but Justin Fields made a lot of mistakes over his career and he has looked good, but I think that the Cowboys have some good cornerbacks and a good chunk of like good players on the defense that could make those mistakes cost the Steelers.
Well, they are, I think, going to be missing a couple people. I believe Mike is still hurt. He's questionable, if I remember correctly. But I think I got to agree with you, Paulo. I think it's the Cowboys, but I think only by 3. I think this is going to be a close game.
Yeah, it's not a blowout by any means for either team, but I don't know. If the Steelers had looked good last week, I would have said Steelers, but it's just last week kind of brought them back down to reality a little bit.
Yeah, rough week for him.
All right. Well, I don't mind being the odd man out this time.
Well, we have one game left, and it's the one that we're probably going to talk about the most.
Yep.
The one I dread. The Saints in Kansas City against the Chiefs on Monday Night Football.
I'm
Who's
gonna
gonna
need
be
a,
the one? Is it gonna be us? Are we gonna do it finally?
I'm gonna need a lot of alcohol for this one.
Hey.
I think we have a legitimate shot. I think the Saints have a legitimate shot to win this game. After seeing
It depends which Saints, though.
that is true, but after seeing what the Chargers were able to do against the Chiefs, after seeing Rice go down most likely with an ACL, no telling how long he's going to be gone until we actually get the actual diagnosis. I don't think there's been one yet, but they're saying it's trending towards an ACL. Worthy's essentially going to be your number one. It's going to be Worthy, Juju, and Kelsey.
Yep. No
And not
Pacheco either.
No
not
Pacheco.
the
They're
best.
pulling Steele after his abysmal performance this past week.
Isn't Kareem Hunt like playing for
It's
starting for them now?
him, and Pirine.
Yep.
And
Kareem
And
Hunt has been
honestly,
a long time.
that's I trust that more than Carson Steele because I know what Kareem Hunt can do though, and P
Yeah.
Ryan too.
yeah.
So honestly, I
And
think that's
also, in addition
a
to
better run
them,
game than last week.
I believe in the article I was reading earlier, Clyde Edwards-Helaire has returned to practice.
Oh, good. At least he's back.
Yeah.
Not good for us Saints, of course, but
Well, I don't think he's playing this week, but he has returned to practice.
Gotcha.
But I think we have a legitimate shot to win this game, but we need to figure out those offensive problems. We need to get that straightened out.
Because that is just killing us. And of course, injuries have been a big factor for the Saints in these last few weeks. Like we lost Eric McCoy for a long time. They didn't rule him out for the rest of the season, but
We
he's gonna
got
be out for
Hill
several.
injured, came back, injured again.
Yep. Olave's battling a hamstring injury as we speak. And even though he did play that full game, still that's something you got to worry about. And then outside of injuries, you just got to play consistently, and that's just not what I'm seeing right now. After two back-to-back 40-plus wins, one against the Panthers, one against the Cowboys, then you just drop two games where you barely score 20 points. It's just like this is just not looking good, y'all. Like I already said, injuries have been a factor for the offense, but at the same time, you still got other weapons out there that you pass the ball around. You're just not doing it. That's the thing we need to do is pass the ball around. Of course, we need more weapons, as I stated earlier already, but that will come in a due time, hopefully, whether this season or next season. I don't know which comes first, but the thing I don't want to say we don't have a shot. I do agree we have a shot. Which Saints team is coming out? Are we seeing weeks 1 and 2 Saints, or are we seeing weeks 3 and 4?
My thing
don't know.
is, and I have been noticing this the past 2 weeks, Carr is starting to fall into some of his old habits a little bit, taking those deep shots when he doesn't need to. Just relax.
It's not
relax
even
a little
falling
bit.
back into it. It never stopped. It was in week 1 and 2 as well. It just worked out.
Yeah, I think though then they were being a little more smart about it, but it seems more like they're trying to force it now, and that's not what we need to do.
It's just become predictable. Like teams are starting to figure out, oh, he likes to take deep shots a lot. Let's go ahead and guard the crap out of Shaheed, who's his favorite deep target right now. And there's a reason why Shaheed's targets has been dropping like a rock. Like last week, he got no. The Eagles game, he got no targets.
Well, he got targets.
4
He got no
targets, but
receptions.
yeah, that's what I was trying to say. And this week, he got some targets, wasn't a whole lot of yards, and he got no touchdowns. And I don't believe they actually took too many deep shots in this past game against the Falcons.
Not many,
So
but when they did, they were broken up.
yeah. So it's like if the Saints offense can just find that spark they had early this season, they have a legit shot against this Kansas City team.
I have faith that our
And Kansas
defense
City-
can hold up, especially the way Mahomes
I
has
do
been playing
too.
the past couple weeks.
Yeah, Mahomes has been kind of shaky lately, and of course, having no proper weapons out there doesn't help his case at all. So this could
I
this
wouldn't
game
say
could
no proper
honestly-
weapons. I wouldn't say
Okay,
no
fair
proper
enough.
weapons for him because you cannot say that with Kelsey being out there as kind of down on the list as he's been this past couple weeks for tight ends. This past week he looked like his old self. And Worthy, even though Rice takes most of the receptions, Worthy is no slouch.
Well, yeah, definitely not. But yeah, you're right there. I'll retract what I said there. Um, I guess what I was trying to say is that Mahomes doesn't have like superstar weapons, so to speak, outside of Kelsey, and that his in terms of his weapons, they have like kind of like declined in terms of quality star, if that makes any sense.
I
So
believe they said this past week that deep pass that he had to Worthy in the end zone was the longest play that they have had in over a year.
mm, well, that makes sense. So like, who am I gonna pick for this matchup? I I don't know. It's just I'm tempted to pick the Saints, but I'm afraid I might have to go with the Chiefs in this matchup. Just because after watching the Saints the last 2 weeks now, like they show fight, and I expect them to show a fight this matchup. I can't pick against the Chiefs, especially with them at home. I'm taking the Chiefs by 3.
You ready for this?
Oh my
I'm
God,
taking
Do
the
it. Do
Saints.
it. Follow.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it because no Pacheco, no Rasheed Rice. That's what's doing it for me. Can Kelsey? I mean, well, we know that Kelsey can play, and we know he's gonna step up. But who else is Worthy gonna step up in this game against our defense, which is pretty good?
Is it gonna be Juju,
It could.
Paulo's
Probably not,
favorite
but he
player?
could. I mean, there is, I guess, technically a chance that Juju could step up. But then you've also got a run game that I think probably could be all right, but that's speculation. We don't know what Kareem Hunt and P. Ryan are going to be able to
And
do,
honestly,
really.
we don't even know if Hunt's gonna be the starter. They haven't decided yet.
Yeah. And we've got Mahomes looking pretty shaky, even when Rasheed Rice was in.
And
Like he hasn't
speaking
looked
of
incredible.
him and Rice, I need to show why Rice is out this week. Editing me, please put up the picture of Mahomes taking out his leg.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I don't know. I think that the Chiefs are vulnerable right now, and we, at least in half of the games we've played, have looked really good. I think there is a legit. Oh, the other thing I was thinking, Derek Carr has a lot of experience with the Chiefs because that's his former division. So there is
That's
a
true.
good chance.
I think as close as like a lot of these Chiefs games this season have been close games. One score. I think as close as the Saints games have been these past 2 weeks as well. As long as they can figure out those offensive struggles that they've had, which improved a little bit last week from the game against the Eagles, and I have faith that they can do it again. I'm picking the Saints, but I'm doing it by 3.
Let's go.
What does Will have to
Yeah.
say about this?
Oh,
Will
I bet he picked the Chiefs.
Will let me see here. Will has picked the Saints.
What?
Wow.
Chris, odd man out. Crucify him. Burn him at the stake. Tie
Well,
an anchor to his
I
ankles and throw
I
him
did not
in the
see
Mississippi.
I did not see this coming. All right. The diehard Saints fan picked against his own team, and I'm the odd man out. All righty then.
Let's go.
Oh my
So,
god.
hey, and just for disclaimer, for obvious reasons, I want the Saints to prove me wrong, just like I wanted them to prove me wrong in the beginning of the season. Like I had so much doubt, and sadly, that doubt has creeped right back up after these last 2 duds that we just dropped. So I really want them to completely prove me wrong. Please do. But right now,
If they go in there and beat the Chiefs, all is forgiven.
all right. Yeah, like if the Saints do beat the Chiefs, I'm treating everybody to donuts.
All right. Well, that takes care of everything for this week. Um, as we said in the beginning, there's 4 teams on bye: Eagles, Titans, Chargers, Lions. Uh, did not think about that before I put this on. But hey, I'm wearing something different every week. I refuse to wear the same thing twice in a row.
That is true. That is very true.
But see everybody next week.
Alrighty.